Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to share something a little different, something that's been on my mind for a while now. The loneliest place in the world is not an empty room, but a bed shared with someone whose back is turned to you, knowing that there is absolutely nothing left to say. My name is Robert. I am 76 years old, and for 40 years, I shared a home, a bank account, and a life with a woman I respected, admired, and cared for, but never truly loved. I am telling you this not to disparage the memory of a good woman, but because I see so many young people today rushing toward safety, terrified of being alone, not realizing that the wrong company is a far heavier burden than solitude could ever be. We met when I was 28, an age where the pressure to settle down begins to feel like a low-grade fever, a constant hum in the background of every family gathering and holiday dinner. Her name was Sarah, and she was everything that makes sense on paper. She was kind, she came from a good family, she was hardworking, and she laughed at my jokes even when they weren't particularly funny. We didn't have that spark you read about in novels, that lightning strike that leaves you breathless and disoriented. But I told myself that such things were fairy tales, immature fantasies that real adults grow out of. I told myself that love was about stability, about finding a partner who would be a good mother, a reliable teammate, someone who wouldn't break your heart. I chose safety. I chose the path of least resistance. I remember standing at the altar on our wedding day, looking at her in her white dress and feeling a distinct lack of anything. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't excited. I was just numb, feeling like I was an actor, hitting his marks in a play that someone else had written. I looked at the smiling faces of our parents, the nodding approval of our friends, and I pushed down the tiny voice in my gut that was whispering, "This isn't it." I drowned that voice out with logic. I told myself that passion fades anyway, that friendship is the solid foundation of a marriage, and that I was doing the right thing, the responsible thing. I made a vow that day to be faithful and to be present, but I was already breaking the most important vow of all, which is the obligation to be honest with your own soul. The first 10 years were deceptively easy because life was loud enough to cover the silence between us. We bought the house, we renovated the kitchen, we had 2 children, and we were excellent business partners in the corporation of our family. We managed schedules, we paid bills, we hosted dinner parties where people would tell us what a lovely couple we were, and we would smile and hold hands because that is what you do. But in the quiet moments, in the car rides home after the parties or on Sunday mornings before the kids woke up, the air between us was thin and suffocating. We didn't talk about our fears or our dreams. We talked about the leaking gutter, the parent-teacher conference, the grocery list. We were operating on the surface, skimming across the top of a deep ocean that neither of us wanted to dive into because we were both afraid of what we wouldn't find down there. The tragedy of a loveless marriage is not always found in screaming matches or slammed doors. Often, it is found in the slow, quiet erosion of the self. Over the years, I stopped sharing the parts of myself that I knew she wouldn't understand or didn't care about. I loved jazz music, complex and messy and emotional, and she preferred silence or light pop, so I stopped playing my records in the living room, and eventually I stopped listening to them altogether. I loved to travel without an itinerary, to get lost in a city and find a hole-in-the-wall restaurant, but she needed a schedule and a plan, so our vacations became rigid checklists of sightseeing. Bit by bit, I sanded down the edges of who I was to fit into the mold of who I thought I was supposed to be for her. I became a gray version of myself, a man who was pleasant and reliable and completely hollowed out from the inside. I convinced myself that I was being noble, that staying was an act of sacrifice for the children and for her. I thought I was protecting her from the pain of a divorce, from the stigma of a failed marriage. I looked at my friends who were splitting up, dealing with lawyers and custody battles, and I patted myself on the back for enduring, for sticking it out. I wore my unhappiness like a badge of honor, telling myself that this is just what marriage is, that everyone is secretly miserable and just better at hiding it than I was. But I was lying to myself. I wasn't staying for her. I was staying because I was a coward. I was terrified of the unknown, terrified of blowing up the comfortable life we had built, terrified of being the bad guy who walks away from a good woman for no concrete reason other than I don't feel it. There was a specific moment around our 25th anniversary that haunts me to this day. We were at a nice restaurant, the kind with white tablecloths and candlelights, and I looked around the room and saw a young couple in the corner. They weren't even touching, they were just talking, but the intensity of their connection was palpable from across the room. They were leaning in, their eyes locked, completely absorbed in each other's world. I looked back at Sarah, who was reading the menu for the third time, and I realized with a crushing weight that she was lonely too. I realized that by staying with her, I wasn't just trapping myself. I was trapping her. I was occupying the space in her life that should have been filled by a man who adored her, a man who would look at her the way that young boy was looking at his girlfriend. In my attempt to be a good husband, I had denied her the chance to be truly loved, but I didn't leave. The momentum of 40 years is a powerful force, heavy and hard to stop. We grew old together. We retired. The kids moved out, and the house became a cavern of echoing silence. We developed a rhythm of coexistence, polite and considerate, like two roommates who have lived together for too long. We took care of each other when we were sick, we made tea, we watched television, but we never touched each other's souls. I remember sitting in the backyard one autumn evening, watching the leaves fall and feeling a grief so profound it almost brought me to my knees. It wasn't a sharp grief, like a death. It was a dull, aching grief for the life that neither of us lived. I mourned the conversations we never had, the passion we never felt, the intimacy that we had both starved for while sleeping in the same bed. Sarah passed away 3 years ago. When she died, everyone expected me to be devastated, to fall apart. And I did cry, but I wasn't crying for the loss of my soulmate. I was crying for the waste of it all. I was crying because she died without ever knowing what it felt like to be looked at with burning, undeniable desire. I was crying because I had stolen 40 years of her life and given her nothing but a lukewarm partnership in return. People came up to me at the funeral and said, "You two had such a beautiful marriage, and you were so lucky to have each other." And every compliment felt like a slap in the face. They saw the duration of the marriage and mistook it for success. They measured the quality of our love by the number of years we endured it, not realizing that endurance is not the same thing as devotion. Now, at 76, I live alone in the house we bought together. The silence is different now. It is honest. And in this solitude, I have come to a realization that I desperately want to share with anyone who is standing at that crossroads where safety meets truth. There is no loneliness quite as sharp as the loneliness of being with the wrong person. It is a loneliness that eats away at your confidence, that makes you question your own worth, that makes you wonder if you are even capable of feeling the things you see in movies or hear in songs. I see young people today swiping on apps, treating dating like a job interview, checking off boxes. Good job, nice hair, likes dogs. And I want to grab them by the shoulders and say, throw away the checklist. Do not marry someone just because they are good for you, or because it makes sense, or because you have been dating for 3 years and everyone expects it. Do not marry because you are afraid of eating dinner alone. Marry the person who makes the air in the room change when they walk in. Marry the person who challenges you, who sees the parts of you that you try to hide and loves them anyway. And if you don't find that person, be brave enough to stand on your own. I look back at my life and I see a flat line. No great highs, no terrible lows, just a steady, safe, suffocating straight line. I survived my life, but I didn't truly live it. I traded the possibility of magic for the guarantee of comfort. And looking back from the vantage point of the end, I can tell you that it was a terrible trade. I would rather have had 5 years of heart-shattering, soul-expanding, messy love than 40 years of polite indifference. So, if you are listening to this, and you are sitting next to someone right now, feeling that familiar coldness, feeling that distance, even though they are right there within arm's reach, please do not ignore it. Do not assume it'll get better with time. Time only calcifies the distance, turns it into a wall that you can no longer climb over. It is a terrible thing to break a heart, yes. It is a terrible thing to dismantle a life. But it is a far worse thing to let a life wither on the vine, untouched and untasted. I stayed because I thought I was doing the right thing. But in the end, I realized that the only wrong thing was denying the truth. We only get one pass through this world, one chance to connect, one chance to feel. Do not spend it with a stranger. Do not spend it pretending. Take it from an old man who learned too late. Being alone is freedom, but being with the wrong person is a cage.